The catacombs of Paris are an extensive network of underground tunnels and ossuaries beneath the streets of Paris, France. Known as one of the most eerie and fascinating places in the world, they attract countless visitors due to their dark history and macabre atmosphere. The air in the catacombs was damp, heavy with the smell of earth and decay. Sarah, Liam, and Alex followed their guide closely, their flashlight beams flickering against the neatly stacked walls of bones. The narrow tunnels felt like they could close in at any moment, and the sound of dripping water echoed unnervingly in the silence.
I can't believe we're actually down here.
Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible over the gravel crunching beneath their feet.
Yeah, but let's stay close. This place is like a maze.
Liam said nervously. Their guide, a middle-aged man with a gravelly voice and a penchant for dark humor, paused to explain the history of the ossuary. The group listened intently, but the flicker of a shadow in the corner of Sarah's eye caught her attention. She turned her head sharply, but nothing was there, just the unending darkness. As the group moved forward, Alex stopped to snap a photo of a particularly chilling skull arrangement. Liam urged, but Alex waved him off.
Hurry up.
The group's lights faded around the bend. Alex called, jogging to catch up.
Guys, wait up.
Sarah and Liam, hearing his voice, paused and waited in the next chamber. But as they stood there, the guide and the rest of the group were nowhere in sight.
Where'd they go?
Liam asked, his voice tinged with panic.
They couldn't have gone far.
Sarah replied, gripping her flashlight tighter. The trio retraced their steps, calling out for the guide. The walls of bones seemed to close in tighter, and their voices bounced eerily off the walls, distorting into faint whispers that seemed to answer them.
This isn't right.
Alex said, his voice trembling.
We came this way, didn't we?
The tunnels all looked the same, and the more they walked, the less certain they became of their direction. Sarah pulled out her phone, but there was no signal, and the GPS showed only a blank screen.
Let's go back to where we started.
Liam suggested, trying to keep calm. As they turned to retrace their steps, the faint sound of footsteps echoed behind them.
Guide, is that you?
Sarah called, her voice cracking. No answer. The footsteps grew louder, uneven, as if someone or something was limping toward them.
Run.
Alex whispered, grabbing Sarah's arm. The three sprinted down the tunnel, their lights dancing wildly across the walls. They stopped in a small chamber to catch their breath, but when they turned to look at the passage they had come from, it was different, narrower, darker, and unfamiliar.
We didn't come this way.
Sarah gasped, clutching her flashlight.
Then where are we?
Liam asked, panic fully setting in. From the corner of the chamber, a faint glow appeared. It was pale, unnatural, and seemed to float closer. The trio huddled together, paralyzed as the glow revealed itself, a figure, translucent and skeletal, draped in tattered rags. Its empty eye sockets seemed to bore into them as it raised a bony hand, pointing deeper into the catacombs. A hollow voice rasped, echoing off the walls. The friends stumbled backward, but when they turned to flee, the tunnel they had come through was gone, replaced by another wall of bones.
We're trapped.
Alex whispered, his voice breaking. The figure began to advance, its movements jerky and unnatural. Behind it, more figures emerged, their hollow eyes gleaming in the darkness. The trio ran blindly through the labyrinth, their flashlights flickering. Sarah tripped and fell, her scream echoing as Liam and Alex stopped to help her up. The shadows around them seemed to grow darker, the air colder. Finally, they burst into a large chamber, its walls covered in eerie inscriptions. In the center was a stone altar, surrounded by more skeletal figures. The air buzzed with whispers, unintelligible and deafening.
What is this place?
Liam asked, his voice barely audible.
It's not on the tour map, that's for sure.
Alex muttered. The whispers grew louder, and the figures began to close in. Desperate, Alex grabbed a loose bone from the ground and swung it at the nearest figure. It passed through harmlessly, and the figure's hollow face twisted into a silent scream. Suddenly, the chamber began to collapse. The walls shifted, bones tumbling down as the ground shook violently. Sarah, Liam, and Alex clung to each other as the chamber swallowed them in darkness. When Sarah opened her eyes, she was alone. The walls of the catacombs were still, silent, and untouched. Her flashlight flickered weakly, casting long shadows on the walls.
Liam! Alex!
She called, her voice echoing. No answer. Her flashlight died completely, plunging her into total darkness. Somewhere in the distance, the faint sound of footsteps began again, moving closer. And then she heard it, a hollow voice whispering,
"You're not supposed to be here."
The history of the Paris Catacombs. The Paris Catacombs, or Les Catacombs de Paris, represent one of the most fascinating and macabre historical sites in the French capital. Beneath the bustling streets of Paris lies an intricate network of tunnels and chambers that serve as the final resting place for the remains of over 6 million people. This vast ossuary is a testament to the city's unique relationship with its history, urban planning, and mortality. Here is a comprehensive history of the Paris Catacombs. Origins as limestone quarries. The story of the Paris Catacombs begins long before they became an ossuary. The limestone beneath Paris has been quarried since Roman times, providing the materials needed to build much of the city, including its medieval churches and buildings. These quarries, located deep underground, created a labyrinthine network of tunnels stretching for hundreds of kilometers beneath the city. By the 17th century, the quarrying industry had slowed, and much of the network was abandoned. However, the extensive tunnels left behind would later play a crucial role in addressing one of the city's major public health crises: overcrowded cemeteries. By the 17th and 18th centuries, Paris faced a growing urban population and a dire issue with overcrowded cemeteries. The Cimetière des Innocents, the largest and most infamous cemetery in the city, located in the heart of Paris near Les Halles, had been in use for centuries. Over time, the cemetery became overburdened with bodies, leading to unsanitary conditions. Gravediggers struggled to dig new graves, and decomposing remains contaminated the surrounding air and water supplies, creating a public health hazard. The tipping point came in the 1780s when a wall of the cemetery collapsed, spilling corpses into nearby properties. This event, combined with the unsustainable state of the cemeteries, forced city officials to find a solution: transformation into an ossuary. In 1786, authorities decided to repurpose the abandoned underground quarries as a massive ossuary. Over a 2-year period, remains from the Cimetière des Innocents and other overcrowded cemeteries were exhumed and transported to the quarries. The bones were blessed and carefully arranged in the tunnels. This marked the beginning of the catacombs as we know them today. The ossuary was inaugurated in 1787 as the Municipal Ossuary of Paris, although it was not open to the public initially. Over time, as more cemeteries were cleared, the catacombs expanded to accommodate the additional remains. 19th century renovations. In the early 19th century, under the direction of Louis-Étienne Héricard de Thury, the catacombs underwent significant renovations. Héricard was tasked with organizing and beautifying the ossuary to make it more accessible and visually striking. He introduced the aesthetic arrangement of bones, creating walls of femurs and skulls, as well as decorative patterns. He also added plaques bearing inscriptions and epigrams about mortality and the fleeting nature of life, enhancing the catacombs' macabre atmosphere. In 1810, the catacombs were opened to the public, attracting curious visitors. The combination of their eerie beauty and historical significance made them a popular destination for locals and travelers alike. Cultural and historical significance. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, the catacombs became a source of fascination and inspiration. Writers such as Victor Hugo and Charles Baudelaire referenced the tunnels and their morbid allure. Artists, adventurers, and even revolutionaries explored the underground network, contributing to its legendary status. The catacombs also played a role during times of conflict. During World War II, sections of the tunnels were used by the French resistance as a base of operations. Conversely, the occupying German forces used other parts as bunkers, modern-day use and preservation. Today, the Paris Catacombs are both a historical monument and a tourist attraction. A small portion of the network is open to the public, and visitors can descend 20 meters, 65 feet, underground to explore the ossuary. The rest of the network remains closed to protect the fragile environment and prevent unauthorized access. The site is managed by the city of Paris and attracts over 500,000 visitors annually. Preservation efforts continue to ensure that the catacombs remain safe and accessible while respecting the sanctity of the remains housed within. Legends and myths. The Paris catacombs are steeped in myths and legends. Stories of hauntings, secret societies, and lost explorers have fueled their mystique. One of the most famous legends is that of Philibert Aspert, a man who allegedly became lost in the tunnels in 1793 and whose body was discovered years later. His remains were interred in the catacombs, and his story serves as a cautionary tale about venturing into the closed sections. The catacombs have also inspired countless works of fiction and pop culture, from novels to movies, cementing their place in the global imagination. The catacombs today. The Paris catacombs stand as a unique blend of history, art, and urban planning. They remind us of Paris's evolution over centuries and the city's innovative approaches to solving its challenges. Whether viewed as a solemn resting place or a historical curiosity, the catacombs continue to captivate visitors from around the world, offering a glimpse into the past and a meditation on the enduring nature of life and death. A Dybbuk box is a wine cabinet or similar container that is said to be haunted by a malicious spirit, specifically a Dybbuk, which originates from Jewish folklore. The Dybbuk is believed to be a restless, malevolent spirit that can possess living people or objects. The term Dybbuk comes from the Hebrew word Dybbuk, meaning attachment or clinging. Emily had always loved exploring antique shops. There was something about the smell of old wood and the promise of forgotten stories that drew her in. On this particular day, she wandered into a dusty little store tucked away on a side street near her college campus. The shop was crammed with oddities, faded photographs, tarnished jewelry, and shelves packed with strange trinkets. But one item immediately caught her eye, a small wooden box about the size of a shoebox, with intricate carvings on its surface. It was dark, weathered, and strangely captivating.
How much for the box?
Emily asked the shopkeeper, an elderly man with piercing blue eyes. He hesitated, his expression grim.
Are you sure you want that one?
Yeah, it's perfect for my dorm.
She said with a grin, brushing off his tone. The shopkeeper sighed.
$20. But if you take it, don't open it. Ever.
Emily chuckled nervously.
Okay, deal.
Back at her dorm, Emily placed the box on her desk. Her roommate Claire raised an eyebrow.
What's that?
Just an old box I found.
Emily replied.
The guy at the store was super weird about it, though. He said I shouldn't open it.
Claire smirked.
Well, now you have to open it.
Emily hesitated, but then gave in to her roommate's teasing. She grabbed the box, running her fingers over the carvings. There were no visible hinges or lock, but as soon as she touched the lid, it creaked open on its own. Inside, she found a bundle of blackened, brittle hair tied with a string, a small, cracked mirror, a tarnished silver goblet, a folded piece of parchment covered in Hebrew script.
That's creepy.
Claire said, leaning in.
Yeah.
Emily admitted, feeling a chill. She quickly shut the box and set it aside. That night, as Emily lay in bed, she was plagued by strange dreams. A gaunt, pale woman with hollow eyes whispered to her in an unintelligible language. The woman's voice was low and rasping like dry leaves scraping against each other. Over the next few days, bizarre things began to happen. The lights in their dorm flickered constantly. Emily's laptop would shut off randomly, and the room seemed perpetually cold, no matter how high they turned up the heat. Claire started complaining of headaches and strange smells like sulfur or rotting meat.
It's that damn box.
She said one evening, glaring at it. Emily tried to laugh it off, but deep down she felt it too, an oppressive weight in the room like they were being watched. One night, Emily woke to the sound of faint scratching. She turned on her bedside lamp and froze. The box, which she had left on her desk, was now on the floor. The lid was slightly ajar.
Claire?
she whispered. Her roommate didn't respond, her back turned in the other bed. Emily crept toward the box, her heart pounding. As she reached for the lid, she heard a low growl behind her. Spinning around, she saw Claire sitting up, her eyes wide and unblinking.
You shouldn't have opened it.
Claire said, but her voice wasn't her own. It was deep, guttural, and laced with malice. Emily screamed and backed away. Claire stood, her movements jerky, her head tilting unnaturally to one side.
It's free now.
She hissed, taking a step closer.
What's free?
Emily cried, clutching the box.
The Dybbuk.
Claire growled, her face contorting into a horrifying grimace.
You brought it here.
Suddenly, the lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. Emily's flashlight, sitting on her nightstand, flickered to life on its own, casting eerie shadows on the walls. In the faint beam, Emily saw shapes, skeletal hands clawing at the air, black smoke swirling near the ceiling. Desperate, she grabbed the parchment from the box and stared at the Hebrew script. She didn't understand the words, but she felt an overwhelming compulsion to read them aloud. Her voice trembled as she recited the text, each syllable feeling like it burned her throat. The room filled with a deafening roar, and Claire collapsed to the floor, unconscious. The shadows retreated, spiraling back into the box, which slammed shut with a force that made Emily drop it. When Claire woke up, she remembered nothing. The dorm room was eerily quiet, the air heavy with the scent of burnt wood. Emily returned the box to the antique store the next morning, leaving it on the doorstep without a word. The shopkeeper found it later and placed it back on the shelf, waiting for the next curious soul to come along. Back in her dorm, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the Dybbuk wasn't entirely gone. Every now and then, she thought she heard a faint whisper or caught a glimpse of a shadow in the corner of her eye. The box was gone, but its presence lingered. The history and mythology of Dybbuk boxes. The concept of the Dybbuk box has captivated public imagination over the past 2 decades, blending elements of Jewish folklore, mysticism, and modern legend. Despite its contemporary popularity, the origins and history of the Dybbuk box are a mixture of traditional Jewish beliefs about spirits and a 21st century reinterpretation of those beliefs. Origins in Jewish mysticism. The roots of the Dybbuk box lie in the Jewish mystical tradition, particularly in the folklore surrounding the Dybbuk. The Dybbuk in Jewish folklore. The word Dybbuk, DBVK, derives from the Hebrew root DBK, DVK, meaning to cling or to adhere. In Jewish mysticism, particularly within the Kabbalistic tradition, a Dybbuk is considered a malevolent or restless spirit that possesses a living person. These spirits are often believed to be the souls of deceased individuals who are unable to move on to the afterlife due to unfinished business, sins, or traumatic deaths. Stories of Dybbukim, plural of Dybbuk, began appearing in Jewish folklore in the 16th century, primarily in Eastern Europe. These tales were often cautionary, illustrating the consequences of sin or the dangers of meddling with the supernatural. A Dybbuk was typically exercised by a rabbi through rituals, prayers, and sometimes the blowing of the shofar, a ram's horn. No mention of Dybbuk boxes in early folklore. It is important to note that there is no historical precedent in Jewish mysticism or folklore for the concept of a Dybbuk box. The idea of trapping a Dybbuk in a physical object, particularly a container or box, does not appear in traditional Jewish texts or stories. This absence underscores the modern origins of the Dybbuk box phenomenon, the creation of the Dybbuk box myth. The concept of the Dybbuk box as it is known today originated in 2003 when an item labeled a Dybbuk box was listed for sale on eBay by a man named Kevin Manis. According to Manis's account, the box was a wine cabinet that he purchased at an estate sale. The previous owner, an elderly Jewish woman who had survived the Holocaust, reportedly warned him never to open the box, as it was said to house a Dybbuk. Manis claimed that after bringing the box home and opening it, he experienced a series of strange and disturbing events, including nightmares, unexplained illnesses, and strange odors. He also reported seeing shadowy figures and other paranormal activity. The eBay listing described the box as containing various items such as 2 locks of hair, a small granite statue, a dried rosebud, a single candle holder, a golden goblet, a mysterious inscription. Manus's story gained significant attention, and the Dybbuk box was eventually sold to a series of owners, each of whom reportedly experienced similar misfortunes. The role of media and popular culture. The Dybbuk box gained widespread fame in 2012 with the release of the horror film The Possession, which was loosely based on Manus's story. The movie portrayed the Dybbuk box as a cursed object that unleashed a malevolent spirit upon its owner, cementing the box's reputation as a dangerous and supernatural artifact. Following the film's release, interest in the Dybbuk box surged, leading to a proliferation of online auctions, stories, and even homemade Dybbuk boxes offered for sale. Paranormal enthusiasts and skeptics alike began debating the authenticity of the phenomenon, with many attributing the stories to psychological suggestion or outright fabrication. Criticism and skepticism. Several factors cast doubt on the legitimacy of the Dybbuk box legend. 1. Kevin Manus's admission. In 2021, Kevin Manus admitted in interviews that the story of the Dybbuk box was a work of fiction. He described it as a creative project inspired by Jewish folklore and his love for storytelling. While he initially presented it as true, he later revealed that it was meant to be an engaging narrative, not a historical account. 2. Lack of historical basis. As previously noted, the idea of a physical box containing a dybbuk has no basis in Jewish tradition. Dybbukim were traditionally thought to inhabit people, not objects. 3. Science and psychology. Many reported experiences with the Dybbuk box can be explained by psychological phenomena such as suggestion, confirmation bias, and anxiety. The power of suggestion, particularly when dealing with supposedly cursed or haunted objects, often leads people to attribute ordinary misfortunes to the artifact in question. Modern interpretations and cultural impact. Despite its dubious origins, the Dybbuk box has become a prominent feature of contemporary paranormal lore. It has inspired countless articles, YouTube videos, and paranormal investigations. One of the most famous modern Dybbuk boxes is owned by Zach Bagans, a paranormal investigator and host of Ghost Adventures. Bagans prominently features the box in his haunted museum in Las Vegas, claiming that it has caused paranormal activity and even physical harm to those who encounter it. Conclusion: the Dybbuk box, as it is popularly understood today, is a product of modern storytelling rather than ancient folklore. While it draws inspiration from authentic elements of Jewish mysticism, such as the concept of the Dybbuk, its specific manifestation as a cursed object contained in a box is a modern invention. Nonetheless, the Dybbuk box has captivated the public imagination and become a lasting part of paranormal culture, blending myth, media, and mystery into a story that continues to fascinate and frighten. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe for more. The Hoia Baciu Forest, located near the city of Cluj-Napoca in Transylvania, Romania, is often referred to as the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. Known for its eerie atmosphere and countless paranormal stories, it has captured the imaginations of locals, researchers, and tourists alike. The Hoia Baciu Forest in Romania had always intrigued Mark. Dubbed the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania, it was famous for UFO sightings, mysterious lights, and stories of people vanishing without a trace. A seasoned hiker and amateur paranormal enthusiast, Mark couldn't resist the pull of the forest's dark reputation. Equipped with a map, a compass, and a GoPro to document his adventure, Mark ventured into the forest alone, despite warnings from locals.
Stay on the marked trails.
The innkeeper had told him the night before.
People disappear in there, or worse, they come back different.
Mark had laughed it off. Stories, he thought, just tales to scare tourists. At first, the forest was like any other: dense trees, the crunch of leaves underfoot, and the occasional bird call breaking the silence. But the deeper Mark went, the stranger it became. The trees seemed to twist unnaturally, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal hands. The air grew unnervingly still, and an eerie fog began to creep in, muffling sound and sight. Eventually, Mark stumbled upon the infamous Poyana Rotunda, the clearing at the heart of the forest where nothing grew. The circle was perfectly barren, surrounded by an oppressive wall of trees. Mark set up his camera and began narrating.
Here it is, the legendary clearing. No one knows why plants refuse to grow here, but some say it's because of alien activity.
He laughed nervously, his voice breaking the unnatural silence. As he spoke, he felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. He turned quickly, but there was nothing there, just the fog, thick and unmoving. Mark decided to press on, hoping to capture more footage, but as he left the clearing, his compass began spinning wildly, refusing to settle. He pulled out his map, but none of the paths matched where he was.
Just great.
He muttered, trying to backtrack to the clearing. But no matter which direction he went, the trees seemed to close in tighter, the paths twisting and doubling back on themselves. The fog grew thicker, swallowing the light and muffling every sound except for his breathing and the crunch of his boots. Then he heard it, a faint rhythmic tapping, like footsteps echoing his own.
Hello?
Mark called, spinning around. His voice sounded small, swallowed by the oppressive stillness. No answer. As night began to fall, Mark's anxiety turned to panic. He switched on his flashlight, its beam barely penetrating the fog. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, darting between the trees. Then he saw it, a figure just at the edge of his light. It was tall and humanoid, but its movements were wrong, jerky and disjointed, as if it were a marionette controlled by an unskilled hand.
Hey!
Mark shouted, waving his flashlight.
Who's there?
The figure didn't respond. Instead, it turned its head too quickly and began moving toward him. Mark ran. He sprinted blindly through the forest, his breath ragged, the sound of snapping branches and crunching leaves following close behind. He didn't know how long he ran, but eventually he burst into a clearing. The same clearing.
No.
You don't belong here.
Days later, a search party found Mark stumbling out of the forest, disoriented and pale. He was dehydrated, covered in scratches, and clutching his GoPro like a lifeline.
What happened in there?
One of the rescuers asked. Mark didn't respond, his eyes wide and unfocused. When they reviewed his GoPro footage, the rescuers were baffled. The camera captured Mark walking in circles for hours, the clearing appearing again and again despite his efforts to leave. Occasionally, the footage showed strange lights hovering in the distance or shadows moving behind him. The final clip was the most chilling. The camera fell to the ground, capturing Mark staring blankly into the fog as the pale, featureless figure emerged behind him. The video ended abruptly. Mark never spoke of what happened in Hoia Baciu Forest. He left his hiking gear to gather dust and moved far from Romania, but at night, in the silence of his new apartment, he sometimes heard faint footsteps outside his door, and when he looked into mirrors, he swore he saw the forest staring back at him. The history and legends of Hoia Baciu Forest. Hoia Baciu Forest, located near Cluj-Napoca in Transylvania, Romania, is one of the world's most mysterious and eerie woodlands. Known as the Bermuda Triangle of Romania, it has gained international fame for its legends of paranormal activity, UFO sightings, and unexplained phenomena. With its gnarled trees and dense foliage, the forest is as fascinating as it is unsettling. Below is a comprehensive history of Hoia Baciu Forest, blending its natural history with its cultural and supernatural reputation. The Hoia Baciu Forest spans approximately 295 hectares, 729 acres, and is named after a shepherd, Baciu, who, according to legend, disappeared there with his flock of 200 sheep. The forest is primarily composed of oak and hornbeam trees, many of which have unusual twisted shapes that add to its haunting appearance. The forest's peculiar vegetation has intrigued scientists. The trees grow in spirals, loops, and unnatural angles, and some seem to defy traditional growth patterns. Soil anomalies, environmental factors, or natural genetic mutations may contribute to this phenomenon, but no definitive explanation has been provided. The forest's name originates from the 15th or 16th century, when a shepherd named Baciu reportedly ventured into the forest with his sheep and was never seen again. Despite extensive searches, no trace of the shepherd or his flock was found. This story marked the beginning of the forest's reputation for mysterious disappearances. One of the most famous legends involves a young girl who allegedly disappeared into the forest for 5 years. According to the story, she eventually re-emerged, wearing the same clothes she had on when she disappeared, and showing no signs of aging or memory of her absence. In the heart of the forest lies a circular clearing where no vegetation grows, despite favorable soil and environmental conditions. This barren patch, often called the dead zone, has baffled scientists and locals alike. It is said to be a hub for paranormal activity, with some believing it to be the site of alien landings or a portal to another dimension. Hoya Baciu Forest gained international attention in the 1960s when biologist Alexandru Sift began photographing strange occurrences in the area. Sift documented glowing orbs, shadowy figures, and other unexplained phenomena. In 1968, the forest achieved worldwide notoriety after military technician Emil Barnea captured a series of photographs of a disc-shaped UFO hovering over the forest. These images, considered some of the most credible UFO photographs of the time, cemented Hoya Baciu's reputation as a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity. Visitors to the forest have reported an array of paranormal experiences, including unexplained lights, bright floating orbs that move independently through the trees. Apparitions, shadowy figures, and ghostly presences are frequently seen or felt. Physical symptoms. Many visitors report feelings of nausea, anxiety, dizziness, and even burns or rashes after spending time in the forest. Voices and sounds. Disembodied laughter, whispers, and screams are often reported, despite no apparent source. Scientists and paranormal investigators have studied Hoya Baciu Forest extensively. While some attribute the strange occurrences to natural phenomena, others remain convinced of supernatural or extraterrestrial involvement. The forest is known for unusual electromagnetic readings. Devices such as compasses, GPS systems, and cameras often malfunction within its boundaries. Some theorists suggest these anomalies could explain UFO sightings and the feelings of unease reported by visitors. Soil samples from the forest have shown no unusual properties that would explain the lack of growth in the dead zone. However, sporadic spikes in radiation levels have been detected, though the source remains unclear. Skeptics argue that the forest's eerie reputation and natural features, such as its unusual trees and misty atmosphere, create a psychological effect known as pareidolia, where people perceive patterns or significance in random stimuli. This could explain reports of ghostly apparitions and strange sounds. Hoya Baciu Forest holds a special place in Romanian folklore and modern paranormal culture. Locals have long considered it cursed, often avoiding the area entirely. Some believe the forest is a place where the veil between worlds is thin, allowing spirits, ghosts, or other entities to cross over. The forest has inspired countless stories, documentaries, and even paranormal tourism. It is often compared to other legendary locations like Japan's Aokigahara Forest or the Bermuda Triangle, drawing visitors who are intrigued by its enigmatic reputation. Modern-day Hoya Baciu Forest. Today, Hoya Baciu Forest is a popular destination for adventurers, paranormal enthusiasts, and scientists alike. Activities in the forest include guided tours. Visitors can join tours that explore the forest's history, legends, and hotspots for paranormal activity. Paranormal investigations. Ghost hunters and UFO researchers frequently visit the forest to conduct investigations. Hiking and nature walks. Beyond its mysterious reputation, The forest is a beautiful natural area with trails and opportunities for bird watching and photography. Efforts to preserve the forest are ongoing, balancing its ecological importance with its role as a cultural and supernatural landmark. Hoya Baciu Forest is a fascinating blend of natural beauty, scientific mystery, and supernatural intrigue. Its twisted trees, unexplained phenomena, and haunting legends have earned it a place among the world's most mysterious locations. Whether seen as a site of genuine paranormal activity or a testament to the power of human imagination, Hoya Baciu continues to captivate and mystify all who enter its enigmatic depths. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe for more. Mary King's Close is a historic network of underground streets and buildings located beneath Edinburgh's Old Town. Shrouded in mystery and legend, it is famous for its haunting past, tales of plague victims, and alleged paranormal activity. Today, it is a popular tourist attraction, offering guided tours that delve into the city's darker history. It started as a dare. Lila, Jack, and Sophie had spent the evening at a pub near Edinburgh's Old Town, trading ghost stories and boasting about their bravery. Jack, ever the skeptic, laughed at the tales surrounding Mary King's Close.
Haunted, please.
He scoffed, downing his beer.
I'll prove it's nothing but a tourist trap. Let's sneak in tonight.
Sophie hesitated.
They say people who go looking for ghosts in the close sometimes don't come back.
Come on.
Lila said with a grin.
It's just a bunch of empty streets. What's the worst that could happen?
Fueled by liquid courage and a sense of invincibility, the trio waited until the streets were quiet, then slipped through a side gate into the darkness of Mary King's Close. The air inside the close was damp and heavy, carrying a faint metallic tang. Their flashlights cut through the pitch black, revealing narrow alleyways lined with ancient stone walls.
Creepy, but not haunted.
Jack said, his voice echoing. The trio ventured deeper, their footsteps crunching on the gravel. They passed abandoned rooms filled with faded furniture and broken pottery, remnants of lives long forgotten.
This place gives me the creeps,
Sophie muttered, clutching Lila's arm.
Relax. It's just old and spooky looking, that's all.
Lila replied, but even Lila couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. In a room labeled Annie's room, Sophie paused.
This is the one where people leave toys for the ghost girl,
she whispered, pointing to a pile of dolls and trinkets. Jack rolled his eyes.
Ghost girl, right.
He walked in and kicked a dusty doll across the floor.
See, nothing happens.
A sudden chill swept through the room and Sophie gasped.
Did you feel that?
It's just a draft,
Jack said, though his voice wavered. Lila shone her flashlight around the room, but the beam flickered.
Guys, did you hear that?
They froze. Faint whispers drifted from the hallway, unintelligible but undeniably there.
Someone's messing with us,
Jack said, stepping into the corridor.
Hello, anyone there?
The whispers stopped. As they pressed on, the air grew colder. Their flashlights flickered more frequently, casting long, distorted shadows on the walls.
Let's turn back,
Sophie pleaded.
Not yet,
Jack said, though his bravado was fading. They entered a large, open chamber, its ceiling low and oppressive. Sophie shone her flashlight upward and screamed. On the ceiling, a black, human-shaped figure clung like a spider, its head turned unnaturally to face them. Its hollow eyes glinted in the light before it scuttled out of sight, vanishing into the darkness.
What the hell was that?
Lila shouted, her voice trembling. Jack's face was pale.
We need to leave, now.
The trio turned to retrace their steps, but found the corridors unfamiliar. It was as if the layout of the close had shifted, trapping them in a maze.
This wasn't here before,
Lila said, her voice cracking. Sophie pointed her flashlight behind them.
Guys, it's following us.
The shadowy figure from the ceiling stood at the end of the corridor, its tall, angular body barely visible in the dim light. It didn't move, but they could feel its malice, a suffocating presence that made the air thick and unbreathable.
Run!
Jack shouted. They sprinted down the corridor, their footsteps echoing wildly. The figure didn't chase them, at first. Instead, it seemed to teleport, appearing in flashes of darkness ahead of them, closer each time. After what felt like hours of running, they burst into a large room. At its center was a table with 3 chairs covered in a layer of dust. Sophie gasped.
We've been here before. We're going in circles.
No, no, no.
Jack muttered, pacing. Suddenly, the door they had come through slammed shut, plunging them into silence. Lila's flashlight flickered again, and when it steadied, she saw them, dozens of shadowy figures standing around the room, their eyeless faces fixed on the group. Sophie screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the oppressive darkness. The figures advanced slowly, their movements jerky and inhuman. Jack grabbed a chair and swung it at one of the shadows, but it passed through as if striking smoke.
They're not real.
He shouted, though his voice betrayed his fear. A cold hand clamped around Sophie's arm, pulling her into the darkness. Her scream was cut short, and when Lila turned, Sophie was gone.
Where is she?
Lila yelled. Jack said, dragging her toward another corridor. But as they ran, the shadows multiplied, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. Lila stumbled, falling to the ground. When she looked up, Jack was gone. Now alone, Lila clutched her flashlight, its beam barely holding against the encroaching darkness. The whispers grew deafening, and she felt hands, cold, skeletal, brush against her arms and neck.
Please,
She sobbed.
let me go.
The light flickered one last time, and the shadowy figure from the ceiling reappeared, towering over her. Its hollow eyes glowed faintly as it reached out, its hand engulfing her in icy blackness. The next morning, a tour guide found a flashlight lying on the floor of Mary King's Close. It was still on, its beam cutting through the empty room where Annie's toys lay undisturbed. There was no sign of Lila, Jack, or Sophie. The guide shrugged and moved on, thinking it was just another lost item from a tourist. But deep in the shadows, faint whispers echoed, and the sound of distant laughter lingered, waiting for the next visitors brave enough to enter. The history of Mary King's Close. Mary King's Close, located beneath Edinburgh's Royal Mile in Scotland, is one of the most famous and historically significant sites in the city. Known for its eerie past and tales of hauntings, the Close offers a fascinating glimpse into Edinburgh's medieval history and urban development. Its combination of well-preserved 17th century architecture, tales of plague, and ghostly legends has made it a popular destination for historians and tourists alike. In Edinburgh, a close refers to a narrow alleyway or street that connects the main thoroughfare of the Royal Mile to other parts of the city. These closes were often densely populated, with tall tenement buildings housing residents of various social classes. Mary King's Close is one of the best preserved examples of such a street, buried beneath newer structures due to urban development. The area now known as Mary King's Close was part of Edinburgh's medieval Old Town. The close was named after Mary King, a merchant who lived there in the 17th century. Mary King was a widowed businesswoman, a notable status in a time when women rarely held property or commercial influence. The close was a bustling street, lined with buildings up to 7 stories high. Residents included merchants, artisans, and tradespeople, making it a microcosm of Edinburgh's social and economic life. During its peak, Mary King's Close was crowded, unsanitary, and lively. Like most of Edinburgh, it lacked proper sewerage, with waste often being thrown into the street. The phrase "Gardez l'eau," watch out for the water, was shouted to warn pedestrians below when waste was emptied from windows. Disease and poverty were rampant, but the close was also home to wealthier residents, reflecting the stark contrasts of urban life. One of the most infamous chapters in Mary King's Close's history occurred during the mid-17th century when the plague swept through Edinburgh. Both the bubonic plague and pneumonic plague wreaked havoc on the city, killing a significant portion of the population. When the plague struck Mary King's Close, the area was quarantined. Authorities sealed infected families inside their homes to prevent the spread of disease, often leaving them to die. Plague doctors, wearing their distinctive bird-like masks filled with herbs to filter the air, tended to the sick. The close became a grim symbol of suffering and death, and many of the ghost stories associated with it are rooted in this tragic period. One of the most enduring legends involves a young girl named Annie, said to have died of the plague. According to tales, her ghost haunts the close, crying for her lost doll. Visitors often leave toys and trinkets in one room of the close, believed to be Annie's, as an offering to her spirit. In the late 18th century, as Edinburgh expanded and modernized, much of the old town was redeveloped. Mary King's Close, along with several other closes, was partially demolished or built over to create the Royal Exchange, now the city chambers. This development effectively buried sections of the close beneath the new buildings. Parts of the street and its buildings remained intact underground, preserving a unique snapshot of 17th century Edinburgh. For many years, the close was largely forgotten, its existence known only to a few. Some sections were used for storage or abandoned altogether. Stories of ghostly sightings and strange noises in the area began to circulate, adding to its mystique. In the 20th century, interest in Mary King's Close revived as historians and archaeologists began exploring the underground remnants. Its preservation offered a rare opportunity to study medieval urban life. In 2003, the site was officially opened to the public as a tourist attraction, managed by the Real Mary King's Close organization. Today, Mary King's Close is a popular destination for visitors seeking to experience Edinburgh's dark and fascinating history. Guided tours take visitors through the preserved rooms, streets, and homes, recounting tales of the plague, ghosts, and everyday life in 17th century Edinburgh. Mary King's Close is often referred to as one of Scotland's most haunted locations. Its dark history has inspired numerous ghost stories, including 1. Annie's Room. As mentioned earlier, the ghost of a young plague victim named Annie is said to haunt one of the rooms. Visitors have reported hearing her crying or feeling her presence. 2. The plague victims. Many believe the spirits of those who perished during the plague remain trapped in the close. Shadows, cold spots, and unexplained noises are commonly reported. 3. The dark figure. A shadowy male figure, often described as menacing, has been sighted by visitors and staff alike. These tales, though unproven, add to the close's eerie atmosphere and appeal as a paranormal hotspot. Beyond its ghostly legends, Mary King's Close provides invaluable insights into Edinburgh's past. Urban planning, the preservation of the close demonstrates how Edinburgh's old town was constructed and how buildings evolved over time. Social history, the close's artifacts and architecture reveal the daily lives, struggles, and resilience of its inhabitants. Plague history, the stories associated with Mary King's Close, highlight the devastating impact of the plague on Edinburgh's population. Mary King's Close is now a protected historical site and a major tourist attraction in Edinburgh. It offers a unique blend of historical education and supernatural intrigue, making it a must-visit destination for anyone exploring the city. With its rich history, haunting legends, and preserved architecture, Mary King's Close remains a window into a fascinating and often dark chapter of Scotland's past. Loch Ness is a large, deep freshwater loch in the Scottish Highlands, famous worldwide for the legendary Loch Ness Monster, also known as Nessie. Spanning approximately 23 miles, 37 kilometers in length, 1 mile, 1.6 kilometers in width, and reaching depths of 788 feet, 240 meters, Loch Ness is the second largest Scottish loch by surface area, but the largest by volume, holding more water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. Loch Ness, located in the Scottish Highlands, is one of the most famous bodies of water in the world, largely due to the legend of the Loch Ness Monster. However, beyond its mythical creature, the loch has a deep and rich history spanning millions of years, encompassing geological formations, early human settlements, historical conflicts, and modern scientific explorations. Loch Ness was formed approximately 10,000 years ago during the last ice age. The loch sits within the Great Glen Fault, a massive geological rift that extends across Scotland. The movement of glaciers carved out deep valleys, which later filled with water as the ice receded, creating Loch Ness. Physical characteristics: length 36.2 kilometers, 22.5 miles, width 2.7 kilometers, 1.7 miles, depth maximum recorded depth of 230 meters, 755 feet, making it the second deepest loch in Scotland after Loch Morar. Water volume holds more fresh water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. Visibility: the loch is known for its murky waters caused by peat runoff from the surrounding hills. Prehistoric and ancient history: archaeological evidence suggests that humans have lived around Loch Ness since at least 2000 BCE. The Picts, a Celtic people who inhabited Scotland during the Iron Age, are known to have lived in the area and left behind stone carvings depicting animals, some of which resemble the modern descriptions of the Loch Ness Monster. The first recorded sighting of the Loch Ness Monster, 565 CE. One of the earliest written accounts of the loch appears in the 7th century biography of Saint Columba, the Irish missionary credited with spreading Christianity in Scotland. Written by Adamnan of Iona, the story recounts how Columba saved a man from a water beast in the River Ness. While this account is often cited as the first record of the Loch Ness Monster, it likely refers to folklore about supernatural creatures inhabiting bodies of water, common in Celtic mythology. Loch Ness played a significant role in Scotland's history, especially during conflicts between clans and during the Wars of Scottish Independence. Urquhart Castle. Built in the 13th century, Urquhart Castle sits on the western shore of Loch Ness. The castle changed hands multiple times between the Scottish and English during the Wars of Scottish Independence, 1296 to 1357. In 1692, the castle was deliberately destroyed to prevent it from being used by Jacobite forces. Today, it is one of Scotland's most visited ruins, offering spectacular views of the loch. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the Loch Ness region was affected by the Jacobite uprisings, a series of attempts to restore the Stuart monarchy. British government troops built Fort Augustus at the southern end of Loch Ness in 1715 as part of their efforts to control the Highlands. Although stories of a mysterious creature in the loch date back centuries, modern interest in the Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie, began in the 1930s. The surge in popularity, 1933. In 1933, a new road was built along the loch's shore, increasing visibility. That same year, a couple claimed to have seen a large, long-necked creature crossing the road and disappearing into the water. Newspapers reported the sighting, fueling speculation. The famous surgeon's photograph, 1934. One of the most famous images of Nessie was taken in 1934 by Robert Kenneth Wilson, a London surgeon. The black and white photo appeared to show a long-necked creature emerging from the loch. In 1994, it was revealed to be a hoax created using a toy submarine. Over the years, many scientific studies and searches have been conducted to determine whether an unknown creature could inhabit Loch Ness. 1. The Loch Ness Investigation Bureau, 1962 to 1972. Conducted surface watches and sonar studies but found no conclusive evidence. Second Operation Deep Scan, 1987. Used sonar equipment to scan the loch. Detected several unidentified objects but no clear proof of a large creature. Third DNA study, 2018 to 2019, conducted by Professor Neil Gemmell of the University of Otago. Found no evidence of a large unknown creature, but suggested the sightings might be explained by giant eels living in the loch. Today, Loch Ness is a major tourist destination, drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. Tourism and attractions: Urquhart Castle, a key historical site overlooking the loch; Loch Ness Centre and Exhibition, a museum in Drumnadrochit exploring the loch's history and scientific studies of Nessie; cruises and boat tours. Many companies offer boat trips, including sonar-equipped vessels for Nessie hunters. Environmental concerns. Loch Ness is an important ecosystem supporting fish such as Atlantic salmon, brown trout, and eels. Climate change and tourism pose challenges, prompting conservation efforts to protect the loch's natural beauty. Loch Ness is more than just a legend, it is a geological wonder, a historical battleground, and a cultural icon. While scientific studies have found no evidence of a prehistoric monster, the legend of Nessie continues to thrive, blending history, folklore, and the imagination of those who visit. Whether one believes in the monster or not, Loch Ness remains one of Scotland's most captivating and enduring mysteries.